Hey guys, welcome back to CTN. My name is Onella.
Yeah, and my name is Elizabeth. I'm catching my breath, guys. Yes. And here we have honest conversations about life and faith. Today we have a special guest. Yes.
Round of applause.
Thank you very much.
This is actually still a very organic, reaction. So yes, we have a special guest with us today. We're really excited to have him. We've been looking forward, and we've got some great questions for him today. And we're hoping that you will learn a lot. You will learn a lot. This is why he's here. Right. So
Can you tell us his name, Liz? That might be helpful.
Right. Yeah. So his name, so his name's Minty. And yes, I was going to ask Minty, would you like to introduce your name, but I've done it for you.
Sorry. I didn't know that was the plan. I genuinely didn't know that was what was happening.
Don't worry, that's fine. Right. So, Anila, we're going to kick off with our first question.
Mm-hmm. We're not ignoring you, Minty. We're just going to start with this.
I'm excited.
We're going to start with this, and then we're going to go into you.
Yeah. Okay, let's go.
So, I like our fun facts.
Yeah, fun facts.
We always have a good fun fact at the beginning of every episode. We're still debating whether marble is a color, and it's a hill I'm willing to spend the rest of my life. You can bury me on this hill.
Okay.
Just through random points of the day. Yes. All I hear randomly is, this is the hill that I would stay on. This is the hill that I would die on. I've got that in my mind. Right.
And marble being a color is one of them. But today, for our fun fact, we are asking the question, and I don't know how much of a TV fanatic you are, Minty.
Compared to most, not very. I watch very specific things.
Definitely you and Lizzie in this both today, because me and TV go
hand in hand. Okay.
Who picked the question this week? Thank God this is not.
The question is, what is your favorite TV show of all time in existence?
And why?
Wow, that is some question. So firstly, I don't watch a lot of TV by comparison with other people. I'm not into shows. I'm really into sport, documentary, and a handful of movies. If I told you some of the movies that I've never watched, you would be shocked and you would literally end the interview now.
You have to tell us them now, because I need to gauge where our friendship goes after this.
Okay, well, I'll just start, and I won't say more, but I'll just say I've never watched The Matrix.
Oh my goodness. Are you serious?
No, it's okay. It's
very serious.
You've never watched it either?
No, I have watched it, but do you know what? I wouldn't say, oh, I've watched The Matrix. The way that I stumbled on the watching of The Matrix, I can't even claim it like that. I have watched it though. So me saying I haven't watched Shawshank Redemption.
So to answer your question, if I had to find a favorite show, I think it would be really difficult, because it would probably be something sport related, and I appreciate that's not necessarily a show. So I'll reflect on my upbringing and a show that my dearest mother, shout out mom, loved, and I actually grew to love it from a really young age, and I still really like it. So I was born in Zimbabwe, and back in Zim, we used to get a lot of the British TV shows. So I grew up watching a lot of Keeping Up Appearances.
For some reason, I knew that was what you were going to say.
Let the Spirit Lead You.
I knew, with Miss Bouquet.
Mrs. Bucket. Yes, and I absolutely love that show. It's a classic. I could watch it now and enjoy it. Yes,
that is a bad boy show.
Really, really good.
It is such a good show.
You yourself.
Only just.
Because that's a good show.
I was expecting that, or Only Fools and Horses. for some reason.
No,
Those were the
not
two
my
things
show.
I thought of.
Not my
Pickles
show.
and horses
Definitely
and
not.
chicken. I really like Griffith, but yeah.
At one point, I spent a lot of time with my uncle, and he used to watch a lot of Allo Allo, the French kind of war thing going on.
I know. Yeah.
And I got into that in my teenage years, but I couldn't watch.
Remember Hello. I remember.
Yeah, it's really good.
It was.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So hopefully that suffices as an answer.
I think it does. I think that we can continue to be friends from here on out.
I like that. Thank you.
You have really redeemed yourself. Elizabeth, let's see. Because this might be the last podcast we ever do together.
I have plenty, actually.
Okay, tell us.
Contrary to popular belief, like Minty, I wouldn't say I'm a series fanatic. But however, I do appreciate a good TV show series. I like Come Dine With Me because that classifies as on.
Here we go. This is another Jackie Hill Perry sermon as a Christmas movie. So
I liked all those shows where I don't know what you're. I don't know why you're looking at me like this. Well, you asked, and I'm being asked. I liked the shows. What's that one about where they have to have like a food challenge? Yeah, it was like in America. I can't remember what it was.
It was about Hell's Kitchen.
Something like that. There was quite a few of them. There were quite a few variations. So I like all the good food shows. But I'm not a fan of. I can't say I'm dedicated to Bake Off. So some people will be like, "What are you really?" But yeah, I like those shows come to mind that I was able to watch consistently over a period of time.
Interesting.
Elena is not amused. It's because I don't.
It's you and food. Somehow, somewhere, Elizabeth finds a way to reconcile whatever it is with food. Somehow, some way.
I like good food.
Liz, would you actually do a come dine with me with your friends? Because that's something I've contemplated. I'll do that.
Brilliant.
Friends.
We did though, remember?
We did that time.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get an invite, so I'll see where I sit in this friendship.
No. Don't be offended. Like a decade ago.
Yeah. We were teenagers. We didn't have money. I don't know how we pulled it off because nobody was.
I knew you as teenagers, and I still didn't get an invite. So I'll see where this friendship is pitched.
Yeah, he was. I hear your excuse, and I ain't.
Yeah, it was quite a while back.
I see an opportunity for Come Dine With Me post-COVID. Fantastic. I'll have to do a little episode on that.
Noted.
There we go. Fantastic.
It'd be a lot of fun, actually.
Definitely. Go on, Nels. Over to you.
So I could actually write a thesis on this.
You have one. Each one.
It's hard to choose because I like TV. I'm a big kind of TV show buff and film buff. I love those things. I remember I got really into videography, and I'm still into videography, but there was a time in my life when I actually couldn't watch TV or film because I was just breaking it down. Other shots.
That's exactly how I watch movies.
Yeah, it became too much. So I had to be watching cartoons for a whole season. I was watching nothing but cartoons because I wasn't trying to break that down. I couldn't watch a TV show without thinking, okay, this is a wide shot. How did they get that shot? Okay, they did this. How did they get that effect? How did He's looking at me like I'm crazy, but yeah. So that's just to say how invested I am in TV show and films. I personally like, and Lizzie's gonna start praying. I like fantasy and sci-fi. That's my genre of choice.
I'm praying for you too.
Thank you. Wow, I really like fantasy and sci-fi. So, give me Lord of the Rings. Give me Star Wars.
Okay. I hear
There's some other things that I'm not going to mention here because Elizabeth is seriously going to have us doing 21 days prayer and fasting. So I won't mention them. But my favorite, one of my all-time favorite TV shows that I can watch over and over and over again, and I'm really upset because they discontinued it, as they do with a lot of really good shows, is a TV show called V. None of you've heard of it. It is.
Oh, we've been reading our Bibles.
You're hilarious. But it's a TV show called V, and it's basically about these aliens that come and invade Earth. So that was one of my it's yeah. I can watch it over and over. I really like the show. I really like the premise of the show. I wish that they finished it, but they cancelled it. I really
On a point that you made, Ornella,
yeah.
you mentioned Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one that was written by Tolkien?
Yeah.
So, interesting fact.
Yeah.
Okay. When that was written, apparently, and I've never watched it, it was based on two towers. Or there's two towers or something in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tolkien actually lived in Edgbaston when he wrote that.
Yeah, I know he was in
and literally round the corner from my house are two water towers from the waterworks, not far from the reservoir.
Yeah.
And he used to look out and see those two towers, and they inspired. So much so that I've never seen the movie.
Yeah.
But when I purchased my property, it was actually themed on Lord of the Rings. So it was called the Pippins.
That is, wow. I need pictures now. That is actually so cool.
I can't get you pictures, but fun fact, there you go.
That's so cool. That is actually so.
And you can actually go see the house where Tolkien lived.
Yeah. I knew that he was somewhere in Berms. I didn't know.
It's literally in Edgbaston.
But it's in Edgbaston. That's cool. Yeah. Very, very cool.
There you go.
And for those who haven't watched The Matrix, I am judging you, because there was a time in my life where I watched nothing but The Matrix 1 through to 3 on repeat on DVD. So I am judging both of you.
That's fine.
I've watched it, 1, 2, and it took a lot of time. They're like 3 hours.
So annoying. How can you say it took a lot of time?
I remember it was in uni. I had the time. At the time. Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you for that fun fact. And thank you for this appointment of come dine with me. We've got something to look forward to after COVID. Fantastic. So we're going to get into the reason why we're here. We're here to ask Minty a few questions. And the questions today, we're going to I don't want to give you everything at once. So my first question is, what do you do? Like, we want you to introduce yourself. What do you do? What are you passionate about? Please.
Who is Minty?
Who is
Minty?
So I've heard 3 questions. What do you do? What are you passionate about? And who is Minty?
Oh, okay. One person would have just opened their mouth and said, "Sir, I'm just."
Okay, so firstly, thank you for having me here again, and I really do value and appreciate and like and love the work that you're doing here. I think it's really good. My full name is Munyaradzi Nelson Tanyanyua. I am a humble young man hailing from Zimbabwe. I moved to the UK when I was 10, and I have lived here for the last 18 years, so that makes me 28. I'm just a normal guy. I love God. I love people. I believe life is about God and people, and maintaining that delicate balance really well. And I am a civil engineer by qualification. I work in sales, and I'm passionate about lots and lots and lots of things. God, music, people, education, self-development. Recently, I've got into walking, which I'm really enjoying. Music, if I didn't mention that, I play drums. And yeah, so I'd say there's probably quite a lot of facets to me. But yeah, if I had to summarize it, that's how I'd summarize it.
Fantastic. I've got a follow-up question from that. And I guess, yes, so you've described yourself in this way, and you've got all these amazing talents, you've got these passions. You're a civil engineer by qualification, and you're doing sales. how have you charted like the course of your life till this point? How do you direct your focus? Like how are you yeah how have you got here, and how have you been able to how do I say it? Yeah, how have you got here? What has how and you've got so many passions. How have you chosen to do what you're doing now, and how have you not gone into, let's say, music per se, or gone into like drumming full time? What is your journey, if that makes sense?
So you said something that was of interest to me, and I was answering as you were asking the question in my mind. You said to me, "How have you charted your course?" And in earnest, I would love to say I have charted my course, but when I look back at my life and the journey of my life and some of the decisions of my life, I'd really love to take credit and say I have charted my course, but ultimately I can't deny that God has been the driving force behind it all, the wind in the sails. I would love to say, oh, how great I am. I did this and did that and did that. So the first thing to say is, and again, I'd love to shout out my mom. I was raised by a single mom, and she was a praying mom. And I've seen and reaped the benefits of her prayers. It's not my wisdom that has brought me here per se. It's not how clever I am or that kind of thing. It really is God, and I am a result of many, many prayers, many, many lessons. So if I can say prayer and God are ultimately the foundation of how I've got here, because some of the things that have happened in my life, I can't explain. I really cannot explain. There are things in my life that I thought should have, must have, and could have happened that didn't happen. And there are also things that I thought couldn't happen that did happen, both unexplainable, until you put on your faith glasses and realize that this is answer to prayer. This is the miraculous happening here today now. So if I can lay that as a foundation, but there is a practical element because God works with people and he uses people. And I would say I am the sum total of prayers, as I've said, but coaching and mentorship, I very much believe in having coaches and mentors in learning, in reading. I've read hundreds of books. There's been many, many hours of audio books and lessons and counseling and being inquisitive. From a young age, I've been really inquisitive, and I love asking why. I love asking why things happen a certain way and why things don't happen a certain way, which is a key thing for someone who's an engineer, I suppose. We like to understand. And as I've already said, there are things in life that I don't understand, but there is a very practical side to things where there are things that they're principles, right? They're God's principles where do A plus B and you'll get C kind of a situation. So if I had to sum it up, that's how I'd say I've got here.
Fantastic. I have to confess, your answers are provoking questions that are kind of outside of our original intentions, but we're going with the flow because we love it. But yeah, over to you now. I know you have a question.
I like that.
Oh, I thought so you don't have a follow-up question.
Oh, well, I did. Okay, I'll follow up actually, but it's going to take us off course because I wanted to hit. Well,
I'm sorry. We'll reel it back in when
it's. You know what I mean? We're just these are the podcasts that I love. So basically, you mentioned something about inquisitiveness. Straight away, I you hear people say readers are leaders. And you say the importance of mentorship, but you also mentioned something that really struck me, which was about having an inquisitive mindset. You're eager to learn, you're eager to question. What do you say to the person that feels incapable of the power of inquiry? Because being able to ask questions, being able to dig, are some people, you said that, you need that for civil engineering. You said you've had it since you were 6. And sometimes I think people think that there's certain predispositions of success that are laid upon people, and the capacity to be and you've mentioned some amazing factors about God, and so I'm not taking away from those at all. Mentorship.
I hope you're not.
It's not in isolation, but then you mentioned an aspect that is incredible, and that's the power of inquiring. And when you say 100 books, I'm like, come on, this is fantastic. We need to read in this generation more than ever. I was going to say something else, but never mind. That would be shade at myself, so who knows? But so what do you say to the person that feels, I don't think I think deeply, I don't think I inquire, I don't read, I don't know, is there a predisposition to success, or can that be grown somehow? Maybe not organically, but how do we facilitate this power of inquiry?
Yeah, frankly speaking, I believe anyone can learn to do anything if they choose to put their mind to it. I think someone has to be shown the value of questioning before they embrace the principle of questioning. If you don't see the value, you'll never think about, okay, why do I need to be inquisitive, until you see the value. And for me, I think whilst I've always been inquisitive, and that was very much a nature versus a nurture thing, in my teenage years, it definitely did get nurtured. I was introduced to, frankly, financial success for me was the thing that made me think, hang on, this is possible, clearly, because I see lots of people doing it. And so it was, what are they doing that I'm not? Or that what is group A set of people doing that group B set of people aren't doing? What leads us to these things? And then I started nurturing it, and it becomes more and more powerful. The more and more you realize the power of asking questions and challenging your beliefs. Even I believe, just on a side note, I believe that when someone has a belief, even our belief and our faith in Christ, it must be tested by questions, because if it's good enough, it will stand and there'll be an answer, right? So, I very much embrace questioning and being inquisitive. And I would implore people to try and understand the value of questioning first, because the moment you realize the value, you'll start pursuing the actual skill set, I suppose, and developing that skill set.
That is fantastic. The value, you said it. I just have to reiterate, in case anybody didn't hear, I was fantastic. And to even bring it back, that is even necessary in our walk as Christians. And the Bible does say that we should be ready to make defense. And if you need to defend, that means something's coming, in your direction. And yeah, not being satisfied with what but pursuing. That's fantastic. Over to you.
Yeah, I'm kind of just digesting a lot of what you've said, because a lot of what you said I definitely agree with, in terms of the questioning aspect. And I think that, do I want to say it? Yes, I want to say it. Growing up in our culture, growing up in the culture of the Black people, we're always taught, it is what I say, and you don't ask questions. You just do. So for a lot of people, that was kind of how they grew up. They grew up in a state of, because I said so. You don't ask why, you just do because I said so. So a lot of people, when it comes to when they get older, because I know that I kind of had that growing up, but my mom got better with time. So as I grew up and things were coming at me, and I had to really look at my walk and look at my faith, and I had to say, okay, why do I believe this? I remember there was a time when I had to go, having grown up in church all my life and a Christian, I had to go back to the basis and say, okay, what is the gospel? What is the truth?
Mm-hmm.
What do I actually believe? Like, do you know what I mean? Even in church, in some churches, it is a thing of, there's no kind of discourse. you sit down, you get fed, and you go, and that's just it, and you're just supposed to believe it. But there is an element. I mean, even the Bible talks about the fact that, you know, you're supposed to test things to see whether they are true or not. Lizzie just said that, right?
No, I was
Yes.
the other one about talking about, you know, that we should be ready to make defense.
She
Okay.
said it in a different way.
She said it in a different way. So that is something that I wholeheartedly 155,000,000% believe in. I believe that it's important that you know your why. You really you not even just know your why, you understand your why. Because trust me, there are people that are going to come at you with some stuff and it's going to sound correct, but fam, it ain't so.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially in Christianity these days, with progressive Christianity, but that's a podcast for another day. So sorry. Minty, you were talking about books and the fact that you've read quite a lot of books.
Yeah.
So I think we're all readers here. I want to ask, who are some of your favorite authors? Who do you read? What do you read? Tell us some more. Give us some book recommendations. It's not like my bookshelf is full or anything, but just give us more.
Okay, so great question, and thank you. I wish if I'd known the question was coming, I'd have prepared better. Before I actually come to the specific answer, I do want to share about my journey into reading. Perhaps more so because there might be some listeners who don't, again, read, and I don't want them to feel judged or condemned if they feel like they don't enjoy reading. Okay, so because it's not just them. Okay, so it's not just you. If you're listening and you don't like reading, it's not just you, and this is why I'm saying this. Okay. Growing up as a teenager, whilst I excelled in school and I did really well, even before I was a teenager, I hated reading. Okay. Back in Zim in primary school, we used to have a library, and every Friday would go and switch a book in the library, and I'd find the thinnest novel I could, and I'd take it and read it. And that was me, because I hated reading. And even after taking it, I really wouldn't read it because I didn't enjoy reading. And unlike my mom, growing up, you know, I hated reading, but my mom used to say to me when she was young, she used to get all these books and she used to read and she used to enjoy it. So for her, she struggled to understand that I didn't enjoy reading. She very much sees reading as a relaxing, calming, enjoyable experience. And for me, I hated it because it was work and you're making me read these books that are not really adding much value to me. Okay. But that all changed for me when I hit my teenage years, because I encountered this area of life called personal development. And I realized that, oh, hang on, not all the books in the world are novels with fictional stories, but actually there are books that can teach you principles that you can literally apply and change your life. And that for me was a moment that really changed my life and my reading life in particular. And I fell in love with reading. Only because I now realize that actually I'm not just reading to waste my time, because for me, reading a novel is a waste of time. And I don't mean to offend anybody. This is just my context, my reality. It's a bit like watching The Matrix. What do I gain?
You offended me at least twice.
Everywhere.
At least twice you've offended me.
I don't
we'll
mean
get to that
offend.
at the end. Carry on. We'll get to that at the end.
So when I realized that I could pick up a book and read and have practical things that would change my life, that would bring me so much closer to my goals, you couldn't stop me. And I've been unstoppable. And coupled with that realization, I also realized that, hang on, I don't have to go buy a physical book. It can actually be an audio book and I could listen to it. Oh, wow. Now someone's going to read to me the keys and keys to a successful life. Like, what more could I ask for? This is England, baby. I'm enjoying this. And that's how I started. And so, I went on a journey. The first book that really captivated me, and it's got to make the top 10 for any teenager for me, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, where he breaks down how the rich get richer and the poor stay poorer. That's a top 10 book for me. But since then, I've gone on to read books that are about sales, about communication, about faith, about marriage, about Jesus, about the Bible, about conspiracies. And so to really summarize a list of my top books is difficult, because I read across those areas, and different authors are really good. From a spiritual perspective, I really love Dr. Miles Monroe, for example, and his principles about the kingdom and understanding the kingdom. I've got a book which is another top 10 called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's really important. It shares a key principle, like in any given situation, if you want to have success, don't do the 3 C's. Don't criticize, complain, or condemn, and stuff like that. So there's a lot, and I'm happy to share a list of, say, 20 books that I really recommend. But I'm always so cautious with recommending books to people, because I really think it's important to understand where a person is and then identify what's important, because you could take the best book to someone who's not ready for it and they just won't receive.
It's true.
Fantastic.
It's true.
Also, lastly, sorry, and you didn't ask this, but I don't necessarily believe in reading a book cover to cover. And this was one of the mindset shifts that I had when I started reading, because a lot of people, when you delve into the world of personal development and learning and reading to learn so you can apply, the application bit is really important. And it's very difficult to implement 300 pages worth of lessons. So actually, on my bedside table, at any given point, I've probably got 7 books there at the moment. And sometimes I just need to open a page, read half a paragraph, and I get a nugget that I decide that I am going to apply the life out of this one sentence or this one principle. And actually, the application of the principles learned is often a lot more valuable than the number of words read and not applied.
I mean,
to be honest, this is just calling for part 2, because the questions, the insight.
I'll be very happy if you welcome me again to join you again.
Because there's a level of accomplishment that we take from I finished the book, but how much is it applied? And I think that was just like,
this is why you read fiction, Minty. You don't have to apply anything.
And that's the problem. It's wasted time, right?
I don't agree with you on that one, fam.
That's fine, and we can go our separate ways on this point, Odella.
I think that it's very important to read books that.
It's what you do in your downtime. Like,
Yeah.
for me, a walk is very relaxing. Okay. For some people, it's not so relaxing.
The gap between us is just widening and widening and widening, because you said a walk is relaxing.
It's one of the most relaxing things you can do.
Walking.
Yeah, because you take your mind away and you actually breathe in and you're like, and you look and you actually see what's happening.
I'd rather do 45 minutes hit and call it a day than go on a walk. But anyways, in regards to the book,
yes,
I hear what you're saying, but I think that, I'm not stirring the boat, I'm not rocking the boat. I am kind of, but when it comes to reading other genres of books, because for instance, I've always loved to read, always loved to read. But growing up, especially in my late, what would you call it? Like before your preteen years, teenage years, reading for me was a big form of escapism, because there was no there was no internet as we have it now. There was no access to all these other things. So reading for me was how I was able to manage with the reality of my life, which at the time some people may know was quite difficult. My teenage years was not the easiest by any means necessary. So
I think, sorry to interrupt you, Anila. I think I need to be clear and say I'm not disagreeing with you. And I'm definitely not knocking people who read for relaxation, for fun. I was just sharing my context. And I hoped, using my mom as an example, my mom loves reading a novel. And power to her, she finds it relaxing, and I think I wasn't knocking it, is all I'm saying. And there are definitely benefits. I mean, I go on holiday and I see a lot of people just sit on the beach and read, you know, of mice and men, and I think I did that in year 10 and I didn't enjoy it, kind of thing. So I'm not knocking it, but I'm just sharing from my perspective and based on the kind of person I am. And I'm definitely not saying it on this point, it's one way or no way.
Yeah, I know, I hear what you're saying. I'm saying what I'm saying to give a bit of balance, because I think that a lot of the time people can feel like if I'm not reading to glean anything, then there's no point in reading. And I think that there are benefits of both. So for instance, I read, like I said, I like to read. I like to read fiction, but on the other side of that, I like to read a lot of Bible-based fiction. So there's a whole genre that people don't even know, Christians don't even know, where they're going through, for instance, Francine Rivers, she writes some of the most amazing Christian fiction books that you will read. And as I'm reading, there was one that she wrote one called Sons of Encouragement. And that took you through, I think, 7 characters in the Bible. And it's based on the stories of the Bible that went through, but obviously it's fictionalized to fit that genre. And I remember when I read it, I was reading it and I was like, I don't know if I said it to Lizzie, I said I had to go back and read Exodus, because the way she told the story, it made me go back and say, okay, this can't be correct. And I had to go back and read it. So I think that there are, like I said, I'm not saying what I'm saying to rock the boat. I'm saying what I'm saying to provide a little bit of balance to it. Because I personally, I don't like reading nonfiction. I've got a bunch of Christian nonfiction books, and unless it really grabs my attention at the time, it takes me a minute to persevere through them. And I persevere through them because I know that I'm gleaning useful information from them. But I would go through the other day I was in bed and I think I read like a book and a half, just in bed, just reading. So it depends. I think it's important to read. And I think that's just a good thing. My mom doesn't read fiction. She only reads books like A Child Called It. You know, them life story books about the overcoming. That's the only type of book she likes to read. Do you know what I mean? So I think that reading is fundamental. And I think that in every stage, there are things to be learned from it. I think that everybody can learn something from something.
I agree with that. And the way I coin it when it comes to reading ultimately is whatever you're reading, the ultimate result is a betterment of what I call the inner conversation.
Yeah.
So as I'm talking, both of you have a voice in your heads that's weighing up what I'm saying. You're talking to yourself in your head. And what reading does is it stretches and expands and enhances the quality of that inner conversation. And so I think we're all agreed that reading is important in whatever form works for you, as long as you are enhancing the quality of that inner conversation.
Yeah. We just talked about reading in quite a bit, and I think I spent way too much time talking about it. But anyways, you have got this is going to be a bit of a jump, but leading on from a bit of the first part of the conversation where you're talking about mentorship and the importance of having that. I know that you have an organization right now. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the Youngest in the Room?
Yes, thank you. So Youngest in the Room started as an idea for a book that I actually am in the process of writing. And the concept behind Youngest in the Room is that all throughout my life, I have found myself to be in so many rooms, and being the youngest in those rooms. I was generally the youngest of all my cousins to a point. I was often the youngest in a classroom. If you look at my friendship circle, generally I'm one of the youngest, and oftentimes I have been the youngest. It obviously changes from time to time. And as I'm getting older, you know, we bring in new younger friends. I was the youngest person in our church band at one point. You know, there's so many aspects of life that I've been the youngest. And when I was observing and analyzing my life, I recognized that there was a definite link between me being the youngest in the room and the amount of progress or perceived progress I've made in life, in that I've been the beneficiary of wisdom of those who've gone before me, i.e. coaching or mentoring. So the book Youngest in the Room is actually a personal story, sharing some of the key lessons that I have learned by being the youngest in the room, in all different aspects of life, in work, in private life, etc. And there will be a sequel actually called Youngest in the Boardroom, but we'll talk about that another day. So what I then did was I actually decided then to ask some of my mentors to put on these young people's training events where we share some of these principles, and people can get some coaching. They can get the benefit of hearing from my mentors. And so in February, before lockdown, February 2020, I actually put on my first event. It was really well attended, and I got some sponsorship for it. And we had the best part of 80 people there for the whole day. And the youngest person in the room was 12, I believe, which was really, really good. And we talked about business. It was very much business and life focused. But it's not limited to that. We talked about faith and goal setting, just things that young people need to progress, and some of these principles. And I got some of my mentors to share. And so this is something that I've now purposed to continue. At the moment, given the fluidity of the world events, I haven't set a date for a 2021 event yet, but watch the space.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I have a follow-up question on that. Fantastic. So book to look out for. You hear that? We will let you know about the book when the book arrives.
Yeah.
And the event, you know, fantastic. I think it's brilliant, just in terms of having that culture of being able to glean from people that are older. And I think even most importantly, being able to recognize the benefits of that opportunity, because sometimes I guess we all have different experiences in life. Sometimes those experiences for some people have been exploited negatively, so the older generation and the younger generation haven't got on, have clashed, and that the benefits of that relationship have been inhibited. And there's, you know, people like yourself who maybe through a different path in life, you know, your course has been charted differently, but the rooms that you've occasioned on, you've been able to glean from. I would say my question is, you know, how would you say, you know, how would you advise a young person? And I guess, you know, this is probably what is restricted for your event, but just give us one tip. How would you advise somebody who feels pretty maybe isolated or doesn't have people around them? How would you advise somebody who doesn't have people around them but needs to build relationships with the older generation or build relationships with mentor? How do you go about that, making that step? You know, you said that you had a 12-year-old who attended the event, but how do you take it? How do you move past the event and make that life of mentorship, coaching, and gleaning a lifestyle? Maybe starting from scratch.
That's a brilliant question, Liz. And I'd like to answer the first part of my answer by sharing a principle that I believe in. And I genuinely believe in this principle. And this is to say, I believe you can learn from anyone and everyone. And I actually believe you should learn from anyone and everyone. What's important is to recognize that from some people, you should learn what to do, and from other people, what not to do, by the example they set. But either way, I believe in every encounter that you have, you should learn from anybody. That's the first thing. The second thing, specifically about mentoring and talking to someone who may be finding it difficult to find a mentor or actually approach someone, is there is this misconception that a mentor is someone who you necessarily know and talk to, and they feed back with you. And again, I don't hold that to be necessarily true. It is true, but it's not limited to that. Okay. So some of my mentors are people who don't even know me. Okay. For me, a mentor is someone you can learn from. You can learn from their journey. And in this world that we live in, with access to social media and people really sharing their journey so much more, I mentioned Dr. Miles Monroe, for example. Dr. Miles Monroe is my mentor. He never met me, and unfortunately, we never will meet. But by virtue of the fact that I recognize that he has a wealth of information available still on the internet that I can learn from, he is one of my mentors. And so I've got mentors in people like TD Jakes. I've got mentors in people like, I don't know, Jeff Bezos, because I listen to a wealth of people with the goal of learning. And so that's the first thing I just want to say to people. You don't have to know your mentors to model after them or to learn from them. You can learn from people you don't know.
Yeah.
That said, I believe also it is important to have someone who you do know on a personal note. And the simplest answer I can give or advice is ask. And what's the worst that could happen? Someone says no. But frankly speaking, and I'll put a question back to you, Liz, when was the last time you asked somebody for help and they said, no, I hate you, go away? Okay, it's so rare. So you need to get past the conversation in your head that says, oh my gosh, I'm afraid to ask that person for help because they're going to say no. Because frankly speaking, when you genuinely ask someone for help in a polite and courteous way, they might say not right now because I'm not available. To which you say, okay, when are you available? But most people don't actually say no to helping. And if that person does say no, then they're probably not the best person to be your mentor anyway.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Ella, do you want to put up?
Yeah. In regards to the youngest in the room, do you have somewhere that people can get in contact with you? Do you put people in contact with mentors? Is that something that you do?
I'm happy with people contacting me and asking me questions, or if they need a specific connection with someone that I may have access to, happy to do that. I'm not formally set up to start putting people in touch with mentors, but I can do that on a one-to-one personal level. My socials are all the same handle, at Minelta. That's Mike November Echo Lima Tango Alpha. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter primarily. And I'm happy to talk to people. I've also got a website, minelta.com, where you can see more about the event that we held previously. But it is very much an idea that's in its infancy as far as a presence online.
Okay. I feel like you have given us so much information and so much to chew and ponder on and to think about. So thank you so much for all that you've kind of just given out. You've basically just given people a whole loads of information.
It's my pleasure.
That, you know, other people may not have done so without asking for monetary gain. And by the way, CTN doesn't pay. Did Lizzie tell you? She didn't tell you, Lizzie.
Well, I wasn't expecting to get paid.
Elizabeth, it's a running joke that we have now with people. People saying, okay, they're going to inbox us with their fees at the end of our podcast. But anyways, Liz, do you have a question?
Yeah, no, I had one last question, and that was really quickly because I know you have to go. What, and I'm saying this, you know, what would you say has been your biggest challenge up till now, or one of the biggest challenges, and how did you get past that? So you've taken us. I from what you have said, I know the journey hasn't been effortless. I see a theme of consistency and determination to be able to make the conversation, read the books, inquire.
Sorry.
Where you
maybe it did sorry. You're gonna have to start again, Liz, please. You were
did I
really badly, yeah.
I don't know why that happened. Okay, brilliant. So, Michael, did you hear the first bit of my question at all, or I'll start again?
Start again.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. So, I was going to say, what would you say has been one of your biggest challenges? You've taken us through a theme. I see a theme of determination in terms of conversations with people, in terms of, you know, reading books, the power of inquiry, and you can see that there have been challenges. But I would say, what has been one of your biggest challenges?
That's a brilliant question, very difficult question, but I'll answer it this way. I think one of the most difficult things in life is recognizing, that's part A, accepting, recognizing and accepting that in life you're going to need to work hard, and then be willing to actually put in the work that's needed to achieve your goals. It's a bitter pill that you swallow as you enter adulthood, that actually, you know what, the solution to hard work is hard work and nothing else. There are no magic formulas. There are no secrets that, you know, will catapult you so far ahead. The solution for hard work is hard work. And that is quite a bitter pill to accept for young people when life hits you hard and you're like, okay, I guess I have to work hard then. So mentally, it's accepting that. And then as a Christian and a human being, recognizing that being a Christian doesn't mean it's easy. I very much believe the walk of a Christian is a simple walk as far as the steps that we take, but I believe it's challenging and testing and demanding. It needs our time, our effort, our energy, our focus, and that is life. And again, coupled with the realization that hard work is the only option, it's realizing that actually problems and challenges are there for the Christian, because a lot of people say Christians shouldn't have problems, and I don't hold that belief. Actually, I believe that in life, you're in a never-ending sequence of you're either in a testing time, coming out of a testing time, or about to go into a testing time. And that is the cycle. And accepting that can be really difficult. Having the mental fortitude to fight through that and say, okay, I will be tested and, I'll come out the other side. I think that is one of the major hurdles in life. And I believe once you get it right in here, and you accept that, then you'll make a lot of progress.
Such good nuggets of wisdom.
Thank you.
And I think in terms of the very last question, because we're rounding up now, you said quite a lot, and you've spoken quite a lot about principles and all these principles that you've learned and that you've been able to apply to your life. Because I mean, we've both known you for quite some time now, for years.
Yes.
And on the outside looking in, it's very evident that you are successful. It's very evident that you are making moves and making waves within your field. So the question that I want to ask is, what principle could you give anyone listening? I mean, you've spoken about hard work, the fact that, yes, you have to work hard. Sometimes that's all it is, just you have to work hard. But is there any principle that you really held on to that allowed you to keep making moves? I know we've spoken about hard work, but is there anything hard work, not hard work aside, but like, is there anything that you realize that you really, really had to hone in on, you really, really had to focus in on, that allows you to do all these things that you're doing?
Yes, there are hundreds. Literally, I could tell you all kinds of principles, biblical ones. One of my favorite verses, Romans chapter 8, verse 28, and it says, and we know that all things, it says, and we know, and you've got to know that all things work together for good to those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. Okay. I've always held that very dearly, that, okay, so I know that as if I love the Lord, all things are working for my good. But so there's, that's an example of a biblical principle that I really hold firm to. You think about Psalm chapter 1. Blessed is he who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on God's law he meditates day and night, and he shall be like a tree planted by rivers of living water. Again, another spiritual principle. But on a practical level, life is hard. Being broke is hard. Being rich is hard. So pick your hard. Being a Christian is hard. Not being a Christian is hard. Pick your hard, on a very practical level. So there's hundreds. Learn to communicate. Learn to ask questions. I think one thing for me, or another thing for me, is when I realized that, hang on, I'm not that stupid. And there's lots of people who've made moves in life, okay? And I'm not the stupidest of them all, okay? And I look and I say, okay, if person A can do it, then I can do it. I just need to fill the void of information. There's clearly information person A knows that I need to know. So acquire more information. I genuinely believe that the only thing stopping a person from being where they actually want to be is information.
It's true.
Because if they had the information, they'll do it and then they'll be there. So get more information.
I agree. 155 million.
I don't agree so deeply. I just think about the way Anela was agreeing fervently. I was thinking, why is Anela agreeing so fervently? But across the podcast, if you want to go back, everyone, in terms of having an informed perspective of life and informed decision making is everything, especially because of how miscalculated we can be, or how
what you said is just
Awesome.
Liz is like, oh, she agrees. I agree with my entire being because I've applied it and I've seen it. I've seen it work firsthand. When we started our company, I didn't know anything about how to run a business. I was teaching and I studied theology. What did I know about business? But you acquire the information that you need and you move. So I'm that one. I'm gonna write that and I'll post it and put it on my mirror.
You know, when I go to London and I use the tube, I hear the statement "mind the gap," and that is the issue. People have a gap between where you are and where you want to be is a gap.
Yeah.
And it's the gap that you need to mind. And the closer you bring the gap, closer you get.
It's true.
Fantastic. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. And we're rounding up now because you have to. He has to go.
Yes.
So I'm gonna just hold myself.
No, please.
Okay. You said it. I guess it goes back to what you say, information. And do you think if someone is informed but they didn't act on what they were informed about, does that mean they didn't really understand what they acquired? So you'll have people, and you'll see sometimes in the Bible it talks about the fool is a person that that roasts not that which he did. He doesn't roast what he took in hunting, kind of thing. And do you think that if you were informed, if you've been told, if you've read and you didn't apply, you have not actually acquired the meat of it? You think you're informed, but you're not informed. Is that where does the gap come between in being informed and applying?
Okay, so I have a statement that I use, which is the knowing of a thing is in the doing. Okay, you only know that which you do. Okay, and when people know something up here, but they don't live it, there is clearly a disjoint in belief. It's a belief issue. And at the very core, they don't actually see the value. Because when someone truly sees value in something, they follow through in action. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I will stop there. We're like, last question. No, last question. No. Yes, indeed, the last question. But this is the last question.
Yes.
Minty, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on here today.
Thank you, guys. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been good vibing with you guys, and yeah, you guys are great.
I felt like I came a little bit too hard at you on the reading, but
oh no. Oh no.
No.
Don't mind me. Don't mind me. Don't you mind me. I'm fine. Yeah.
Let's find out. I mean, you said it before, but just so that we can have it again, where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Minalta, Mike November Echo Lima Tango Alpha. And you can find my website on minalta.com, Mike November Echo Lima Tango Alpha.com.
Okay. And we will definitely be keeping everybody up to date with when the book drops and if you have another program, youngest, because I feel like it is very, very important. Mentorship is something that is really, really important. It is. So, I mean, the resources are there. They're here now. And Minty himself said that you can hit him up. So if I hit up Minty, he'll be fine with that as well. Because me too, I want some.
Next to Alpha, so
fine.
Having on the podcast.
I'm happy for you guys. If people specifically want to contact me directly, you can talk to Liz and Anela, and I'm happy for people to even call me if they feel the need to.
And thank you so much. I think it's so important that we have these resources readily available for people who want them. So I think these last couple of months have really made people realize that nothing is as concrete as they'd like to believe in any way, shape.
Jesus is the rock.
This is the rock. But fam, that's about it. Everything else can go like this. So people are really making moves to try and better themselves, and this is an amazing resource for people to tap into if they need to. So Minty, we want to say thank you once again. Thank you so much. It's been a very, very informative, very, very good discussion. Reading is fundamental, guys. But Elsbeth,
yes, fantastic.
Where we can find you?
Yes, so you can find me at Elizabeth Hub. I'm getting used to my new handle.
So glad it's changed. Oh my goodness.
Hub on Instagram, as you know, and I will repeat, you can find me on Twitter, but I will not be tweeting. And also, yes, that's where you can find me. And where can we find you?
I'm everywhere. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Onella_Bella. That's at ONELLA_BELLA. I'll be Instagramming and I'll be tweeting. So you can find me on those. That's it. That's my everywhere.
Fantastic. And also you can find CTN at CTN_UK, and we are across all platforms: YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes. I feel like I'm missing something. Instagram at CTN_UK, and Twitter too.
We don't be tweeting, but you can follow us.
Because one day we'll bring out a life-breathing tweet inspired by the Spirit of God.
Come on.
I don't want to miss that wave of glory. So follow us. So brilliant. So that's where you can find us. Just going to say a quick prayer, and we're going to close up for today.
Go on, Liz.
Yes, and I will, because you did it last time. Fantastic. Because of time as well. So let's go. Father, we just thank you for this podcast today. We thank you for the time. We thank you for the wisdom that has come out today. When we were praying about this podcast today, we asked that you took full control, and we asked that there would be wisdom, and we prayed that you would just be here, and really, God, you have helped us today. So we thank you for Minty. We pray that all his ventures will go exceedingly well. We pray for all our listeners, Lord, and that we will all reflect and see where the gap needs to be closed in our lives, and where we need to invite you in to chart our course, where relationships need to be made, where communication needs to be made, where action needs to be made. What step do we need to take in the right direction? So God, we just pray that we will not just be hearers, but we'll be doers also. We just thank you so much for this time. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thank you, guys.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Minty. And we will catch you all later, guys. Goodbye.
Adios.
Adios.